Hello, everyone. I'm Rebecca Weber. This is your Amac podcast, Better for America. And if you haven't yet done so, hit that subscribe button so that you never miss a BFA episode. Now, today, I am just thrilled to have this guest with us. He is a living example of courage and is the kind of American who stands up for what is right. Now, he's a seasoned and well-respected educator. He has long been a high school Spanish teacher, and like so many teachers and parents across the country, he watched what was happening in our great country and in his school. Now, he's a thoughtful voice for personal liberty, protecting children, and keeping politics out of the classroom. And he's also an example of really being on the front lines in defense of the values that we care about and paying a high price. Now, he lost his teaching job for standing up to a school in Louisiana, arguing that critical race theory, or CRT, which is the Marxist curriculum that inculcates racism, has no place in our public education system. And for that courageous statement and his resolve to keep America true to what makes this nation so great, he was fired. But he did not miss a beat. He now owns a construction company and has become the voice of reason in public education. And today, he is trying to stop vaccine mandates in public schools. I'd like for you all to welcome this guy with me, a great leader, a true friend of Amac, Mr. Jonathan Koeppel. Thank you so much, Jonathan, for being with us today. We're happy to have you.
Hey, y'all, it is a pleasure.
Well, thank you so much. And Jonathan, you have genuinely been on the front lines. You're doing what so many teachers might hope to say and do, and that is protecting quality education for our kids. And you have stood up to school boards who embrace dangerous leftist thinking. So let me ask you, first, if you could tell or share with our 2.4 million AMAC members and many others listening, your story. Tell us your story, and then help us understand the stakes in this battle, in this battle for the hearts and minds of our next generation. I worry about our children, and help us understand what is happening in so many public schools, really what it means. Because I think for us to understand what's happening is part of solving the problem. But your story first, if you could, Jonathan.
Yes, so I got into teaching, and I had got my certification, and I'm working for a few years. I get into a school that I thought was great. It was real close to home. It was right next to the church that I went to. I volunteered with the youth group. So it was like the perfect location. I get in there, and education, as we all know, is very, what you would say, woke, where they push weird stuff. Mostly the teachers are pushing their own agendas or their own ideas versus teaching reading, math, science. Just the easiest example is when Joe Biden was inaugurated as president of the United States, the science teachers were playing the inauguration in their class, in biology class, in math class. The math teachers were playing the inauguration. Now, why were they doing that? Well, they wanted to rub it in the kids' face that maybe their family didn't support Biden, and they stopped what they were doing for 2 days and did that. Now, civics and social studies, yes, they should watch the inauguration. It only happens every couple of years, and it makes sense. But the other teachers were pushing this Joe Biden won, and there's really no place for that with grown-ups and kids. It's a form of bullying, and it's really like a political discrimination that happens because they took it, not just showing it, but then telling everybody why they love this guy and why he's better than the other guy and why the other guy doesn't deserve to be the president, the other guy being Trump. So that's what was happening at my school. A lot more than that. Kids were coming to me and they were saying, hey, Mr. Copel, we know that you're not like the other teachers. And my teacher said communism is a great form of government. It just hasn't been done correctly. And so I'm hearing this from kids. I'm hearing all kinds of things. I'm listening to some kids have their little side conversations, and my mind is just blown. Okay, my mind is blown that what I hear on the news is happening in my school in St. Tammany Parish, Louisiana. So I found something that our school district uses called Brain Pop, because I wanted to go to a school board meeting with some concrete evidence that, hey, the crap that's on the news, the garbage that we keep hearing about from New York and California, it's in our schools too. Because if I just say, hey, another teacher said this, it's hearsay. Oh, well, it's your word against theirs, and there's no concrete evidence. But I found a program that was being used by schools all across the parish, and we have multiple schools in our district. So I found the videos from this program that were promoting CRT, telling Black kids that they can't succeed in life, that they're going to be shot by the police just for being Black. It was telling the kids about don't use the pronouns he or she if you're not sure about your friend. If you don't know Susie's gender, call Susie a they, them. So I bring that to the school board. I talk about it. I show them the videos. A few weeks later, a video of that goes viral on the internet, goes crazy. I'm being harassed by my school board, by my administration for about a year. I'm going to more school board meetings with parents and concerned citizens, and we're just talking about things going on. And this past August of 2021, last August, I got fired on the first day back to school after summer break. I had gone to different events for Turning Point USA, just different political functions, more on the conservative side of things. And I come back, I get fired. Why? Because I'm not wearing a mask at a teacher breakfast where no one is wearing a mask. So I got sent home. I had some hearings. They fired me. It was over some political things. I shoot guns. They said, we don't like that. It was a lot of free speech issues. They had a problem with me going to these conservative events. And I'm suing them now in federal court. But that's kind of the story in a nutshell. There's a lot more details to it, but they are being sued in federal court. I think the lawsuit's 40 something pages, 45, 47, around that number. And it's a big deal.
Unbelievable, Jonathan. I think we should share. Is that video still up on social media?
Yeah.
Because if so, we ought to share that video here now so that those listening can take a listen.
Actually, yeah, they can be used as a singular pronoun too. Like if you said, I'm going to see my friend, I could ask, where do they live? Since I don't know your friend's gender identity. And some individuals prefer they as a pronoun. Like meet or bot, they are my best friend.
We got kids that can't read and write, and then we're going to teach them incorrect grammar. I mean, it's ridiculous. Don't push this ideology on children. I'm not going to work in a district that's okay with that. You need to make a clear statement on how many genders are there, because parents they're already pulling their kids out of public school. They're doing homeschool options. They're going online. It's going to increase as this liberal ideology comes into our schools. This isn't a political indoctrination camp, okay? It's public education. We want to teach education, not left-wing ideas that aren't backed up by facts or science. Thank you.
Jonathan, thank you, because your insights are sobering and your personal courage is so inspiring. I mean, it really is. As you sit here knowing that so many teachers are under fire and uncomfortable with leftist politics that are really creeping in, or in some cases charging into the classroom, what advice would you have for parents, teachers, and others who really want to assure that their families, that their kids that are being educated properly, and that the next generation is not somehow being brainwashed when they're taught this leftist way of thinking, which really instills fear and intimidates those who defend independent thought. So how do we get the message out that we all really need to stand up?
Yeah, so a lot of parents are in denial that their kids aren't being brainwashed. Well, breaking news, your kids are being brainwashed. I know plenty of parents that tell me, hey, I was at home with my kid and this TV show came on, and then the kid said, oh, I remember when Miss Jane Doe was talking about racism in class and how America's really racist and we need to bring attention to the racial divides we have and work on our white privilege. Whoa, like, where is that coming from? That's not educational. That's ideology that's actually false.
Yeah.
So the kids are already getting brainwashed from grade school all the way to high school. You got to get involved, because if not, you wonder, how does somebody become an Antifa member, right? Did they just one night decide they hate America, they hate everybody, they want to be a socialist? Does that happen overnight? No, I don't think it happens.
That's right.
It's a slow deception that happens over time. And parents are so busy working, and kids are spending 8 hours a day in school, and then they spend 3 hours a day with their family, and then they go to sleep and they just repeat it. So it's really important for parents, first of all, to get involved in your kid's life first.
Yeah.
Okay, build a relationship with your kid. If you don't know who your kid is, that's a problem, number one. The second thing is, you really should know who your teachers are. The teachers should know who you are, and schools have done a great job at keeping parents out of school the past couple of years, thanks to COVID and everything on the news. They don't want people in there with cameras. They don't want people in there with recording devices. But you need to be all involved in school. Whenever they have the opportunity for you to show up, show up. If you find something weird in your kid's homework or study packets, bring that up to the administration. And most importantly, put it on the internet, because if you have a one-on-one meeting with the administration, they're going to tell you, oh, we're going to fix it, we're going to work on it, and they don't do anything. If you
Put the pressure on.
Post it on Facebook
pressure on.
to a mom's group, to a parents group, whatever, just share that thing around with other parents. There's pressure, more people are calling, more people are getting upset, and then guess what? They actually do something about it. So you have to be a little strategic and not scared.
Right.
You have to bring awareness to what's happening. So find something that's happening, because it is, and then bring awareness to it with other parents. You got to. Your kids, you're going to lose them. They're going to come out of high school, and now it's happening in junior high. They don't know what gender they are. They can't just unbutton their pants and tell you that they're either a boy or a girl. They say, I think I'm a trans boy, girl, zebra. I mean, they don't know what the heck they are. So it's really sick. And that's where we're at.
It is really sick. It is evil. It's just pure evil. And I know it's uncomfortable for people to think that perhaps up, the street where their child's going to the local elementary school, and, maybe you're involved in PTA and such. So you don't really think that these are teachers that could really be, I say, unintentionally brainwashing, because I think they're just so ignorant that if they understood what the psychological damage that they were imposing on these young children, teaching these crazy ideologies that simply go against science. I mean, we know that there's male and female, period. It's hard to justify the reasons behind it. And parents, it's going to be up to the parents. And I pray that the November midterms reflect the will of the parents wanting to take a bigger stand and have more control over what their children are being taught. So this is an issue that is so important. Our AMAC members overwhelmingly said, we want you, AMAC, even though you're a 50-plus organization, we want you to fight against the indoctrination of our children in our school systems, because we recognize that the future of this country depends on the children today. So thank you, Jonathan. We need to get, one person, one man shows courage or bravery, and so many people, it rallies so many people around them to do the same. So thank you for taking real action. I do want to take the discussion a bit further into the whole idea of government mandates, using the educational system and pressure on teachers to insert politics into the classroom. And tell us what you're doing to turn back the vaccine mandates, why you are doing it, and what you think the stakes are in that battle.
So just to give you guys some context, I'm not just in Louisiana. Today, I'm in Illinois, I'm in Chicago, and I'm actually helping and working with a high school group out here in Lyons Township. And they had a mask mandate issue, and they took the initiative on their own and just rebelled completely against it. They had the overwhelming majority of students fight back against the mask. They just didn't show up with masks on recently, a couple weeks ago, and now they don't have a mask mandate. Where I'm at in Louisiana, there was a vaccine mandate that dropped, where every kid in New Orleans had to have the vaccine by a certain date. Well, I've been working in my construction company, so I'm out of the loop just a little bit. I still see things, I still see the news, but some moms formed a group called Bayou Mama Bears, and they were really active in fighting this vaccine mandate. So what I did was I said, hey, I'll share your stuff, because I have a platform on Instagram and Twitter and some other places. I said, hey, I'll share your stuff and help you guys, because y'all are actively fighting this, and I'll support what you're doing. And next thing you know, they figured out a way to just get all these moms together and spread the word, and I'm spreading the word. The Attorney General's spreading the word. Next thing you know, we have a lawsuit against the mayor of New Orleans. And now the vaccine mandates are dropping, the mask mandates are dropping. It's really strange, because just a couple of weeks ago, you couldn't go to a restaurant without being vaccinated in New Orleans. Right. You couldn't go to school without being vaccinated in New Orleans. Now they're lifting all the vaccine mandates. They're dropping all the mask mandates. So basically, I'm just trying to be a mouthpiece. And the more people that see other brave and courageous people, that I'm not worried about getting fired at this point. I've already been fired. Like, I'm my own boss now, so I'm not going to fire myself. So as long as people keep seeing other human beings standing up, speaking out and being brave, it's very contagious. So I'm just trying to continue being viral. Like, I want to be like the virus. I want to spread like COVID, but for the right reasons. And so that's kind of what I'm doing right now. And I'm traveling as much as I can, encouraging students through Turning Point USA. They have local chapters. I just went to Virginia at Liberty University. And like I said, today I'm in Chicago with Lyons Township. And so that's what I'm up to.
Jonathan, that's great. It's really such a strong case that you make for liberty over mandates. And I want to get behind all this and ask you a little bit about yourself. How and why did you become a teacher? And then when these battles emerged, the CRT battle in the classroom, where did you get the courage to stand up and fight this political force, knowing that there might be a cost? So where does your personal courage, your personal conviction to defend liberty come from? Does it go back to your own education, your family, your faith, your community? I do think that that's an important part of the story, and it's what animates you to be who you are, to fight with this kind of conviction and encourage others to do the same.
Yeah, so education was an opportunity for me to just get into a career that had awesome time off. I had summers off. I could do other things, fun things, work with young people, and just do that. I thought it was cool. So I'm in it and I'm doing it. But I started getting fed up with how political education was. I thought there's no reason it should be political. And me as a Spanish teacher, I said, I just want to show up and teach this foreign language so kids can communicate in another language. You know, when they travel, they have no issues. But things got so political. One time at the first school I was working at, a guy was parading in the hallway, a teacher with toilet paper that had Donald Trump's face on it. Now, you know, I believe in free speech. You should, if you want to have that at your house, show your friends, bring it out for the party. That's one thing. Bring it out in front of a bunch of teenagers at a high school because you need to stroke your ego. I don't understand that. I don't understand that. So that's the kind of stuff I was seeing. And it got to a point where the things I was hearing, the things I was seeing, I was so fed up with it that I wanted to get in the game. And then another thing was, in my area, there was an attack on religious liberty. We did a giant outdoor worship event in November of 2020, I think. And the mayor got all upset and threatened everybody with fines and stuff because we're outside. There's a few thousand people and we're just singing and praying and having a good time. And all of a sudden we were enemies of the state. So I'm seeing that they're coming against all free speech, not just kids wanting to brainwash them, but the adults. They were closing down churches. They were limiting what you could do, what you could say, how you could express yourself. And I said, I want to be one of those people that's against all of this publicly, because somebody's got to be the first. Somebody's got to take the bullet. And I felt like I was a person that could do that. And so originally I actually stood up against the mayor before I did the school board stuff. And I thought I was going to get fired when I stood against the mayor of New Orleans. That kind of just like blew over and everything was fine. I was on TV for that, but nothing happened with my job. But when I brought up the critical race theory, the gender ideologies, and kept pushing against that, then I started getting harassed and eventually got fired. But the courage part comes from, I think, honestly, my background as a Christian in America. This country used to be such a honorable place. I mean, was it perfect always? No. I mean, we had the Wild West. People were shooting each other for land and moving stakes. And it was really nasty, but this was an honorable place not that long ago. And people were more family oriented. People were more respectful. And now it's like we're living back in the Wild West and we are pioneers again. And nobody's really having a backbone. And I noticed that they're going to come, when they come after free speech, you might think it's about political stuff. But if they're limiting your political speech, very soon they're going to limit your religious speech. So we see it with YouTube. They're removing videos that talk about politics that they don't like, but they're also removing videos of preachers that are preaching things from the Bible, which they believe to be true, because YouTube is calling it, what was it, like spiritual medicine? You can't push certain spiritual ideas that aren't proven true. So we see the censorship is not just on the political side, it's on the religious side, which all has to do with the First Amendment. And since we have the First Amendment, I'm standing up as much as possible, because a lot of people are scared to and they don't know what to do. And so I'm just doing, even though I'm not an expert, I don't exactly know what I'm doing all the time, but I'm doing, which is better than doing nothing.
Amen. That's right. It's that is so important that you're doing something and that we're having this conversation. It's true. People here in America, unfortunately, so many have really become sheep and followers of not caring so much to really dig into the ideas that are being infiltrated in all of our institutions and systems, just turning a blind eye, and eventually it will be too late. We've got to fight for our freedoms. We've got to keep those freedoms secure. And, I'm relying on our future generations to sort of, carry the torch. Thank God for our faith in God, because I believe that this is a spiritual war that's occurring. I do. I mean, I think that there's, just evil that's creeping throughout many places. And we've got to keep prayer, front and center, at least here at Amac. That is so important that we recognize that. And the family, where does all of this, where do young people learn about who they are and come to love who they are and learn to know that they were created by a loving God? That all comes from the home and from the family. And it seems that we have a government that's attacking the central family, the core, the most important unit in our lives is the family. And so because from that family, we learn those values, we gain the courage to speak out, to recognize our God-given talents. So it is something that we ought to be very concerned about. And the only way it's going to change is if people speak up, parents speak up, folks like you speak up and do something, show up, put it on the internet, go to a board meeting, get involved, demand more information. These are your children. And we have every right to do that. So I appreciate that. I do want to just pivot slightly and ask you to give us some guidance to those who have to confront government overreach, whether it be that their child is being forced still to wear a mask in their school, or, we heard about these toddlers that were being interviewed or pulled, out of a private school that wasn't enforcing masks on toddlers. I mean, this stuff is insane. It blows my mind. Parents have got to get involved, but how could you offer some thoughts or recommendations for people, how they can think when they're facing this kind of government overreach?
Yeah, so we've been in such a time of peace without real problems for a lot of years in our country, right? When my parents were growing up, I guess maybe in the 70s, I mean, they had like the Vietnam stuff, Korea going on, but really in our country, we didn't have as much craziness going on like we do today. So you didn't think about having to fight with your senator or congressman. You just worked and went home and
Right.
went on vacation, and that was life. And for the past, I don't know, 30 years, it's been okay to do that, right? Nobody's really thought about getting involved, but now we're at a point where we have to, and these people that are in office are very evil people. And that's on both sides, on the left and the right. I don't care if you vote Republican or if you vote Democrat or if you vote Libertarian, they got evil people in every single group. We have to be very confrontational. Just because somebody has a title of state representative or congressman doesn't make them better than you, doesn't make them so much more important than you. They actually work for you. Imagine you're their boss. That's how it's supposed to be, but they've all forgotten that. They've all gone to promoting themselves, selling books, having fundraisers, and they get millions and millions of dollars. They start out on a meager salary. Sometimes they start doing some insider trading and become multimillionaires. They're beating the S&P 500 when your biggest firms can't even beat the S&P 500 in the market. So these people are sick. So you got to get the idea of, well, I don't want to be mean or tough with Mr. Squeaky Clean senator or Mr. the principal, because guess what? These people, all the taxes we pay, and now that I have my own company, I'm paying a little more in taxes. I am so upset that I give them so much money and they don't do a good job. Everybody should be upset. They're getting paid with your money, with my money. Anybody who's got a business, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And people with regular jobs, they're taking 20%, 30%. And if you're up there, there might be 39 and 40% of your money. So realize that, and then just be aggressive, be on the offense, be polite, be respectful, but be stern. We need more people to be confrontational. Confrontation is okay. And they're taking advantage of many people's good nature. A lot of people, oh, I see the good in everybody. Yeah, I can see the good in everybody too. But when they're messing up and when they're screwing up and when they're taking advantage and abusing kids, somebody's got to get in their face and call them out, tell them how the cow eats green grass and makes white milk. I mean, you got to let them know what's going on. I don't
That's
know what
right.
else to say. You need to grow up. You need to grow a pair. Some of these people are just weak and they need
Well,
to stop being
yeah.
weak.
It's the truth, and I do think that it's great when you say, just remember, these people are people. It doesn't matter if the principal of your school does no better than you, the vice principal no better than you, and their title should not intimidate you. Additionally, I think that I would recommend to moms and dads that, try to form a group of people, because usually there will be somebody in a group who likes to be confrontational. Maybe you're better at gathering the details and digging at the truth and doing the research. But if you're paired up with 2 or 3 other families and you can together collectively go at it to be a combined voice, that also is great. And then finally, I want to recommend to people that they go to our website, because if you Google, if you're on the Amac site and you look for critical race theory, we've got it in a few ads and areas on the homepage there. We've got a tremendous amount of resources that people can tap into, literally how to run for your school board, how to identify critical race theory in your schools. So I encourage people to go there. And Jonathan, if there's any other websites that people can get at for resources that you want to share at the end, I'll give you a moment to do that. But I think people have got to be bold and unafraid. If we don't stand up now, we're going to lose our freedoms. I do want to touch on one final topic, given your experience, Jonathan, in the classroom. I want to ask you, do you think that today's youngest generation understands the stakes, the idea that their future freedom is at stake in all of this? In other words, do they see how they're being played? And how do you feel the next generation is suited to defend liberty, given that many of these battles are going to fall to them?
They are not prepared. They have no clue. They are totally blinded by social issues. And a lot of people, so yes, the critical race theory is a big one, right? But you have critical race theory and this gender issue happening at the same time. And more so even with the gender issue, because I just spoke to a school board here in Chicago 2 nights ago, and they put a tampon dispenser in the boys' bathroom for the boys that menstruate. Well, we all know anybody with half a brain, a man can't menstruate. So the kids are so stuck on this gender issue, on this racism issue, that they're not thinking beyond that. They're not thinking about working hard. They're not thinking about starting a business, having a family. All they can think about is, I want to be accepted. I want to feel loved. Every single one of them is missing out on acceptance and love right now. That's all they're looking for. They're not looking for anything else. And the ones who are giving them acceptance is mostly on the left. The left is coming out with this, oh, we accept you. Come on, dye your hair purple. We have a whole herd of other people just like you. And the right, we're more on the political. We're trying to say, hey, your freedom's that they're confusing you. They're lying to you. But there's something missing in the middle where we have to let them know they're being lied to, but also that, hey, we accept you too. You want to be different, but let me tell you the truth. You're really a boy. You're really a girl. White people love you. Black people love you. Red people love you. Everybody loves everybody most of the time. I mean, we have issues, but these kids are so focused on acceptance right now that they're not even seeing the fact that their freedoms and liberties are being taken away from them. They don't understand the concept of responsibility because everything's given to them. They don't have to earn anything. And then they go to college, they get $50,000, $60,000 in debt or more with a degree that's useless. And now nothing's being given to them like it was in high school and grade school. And now they're angry. So this current group of young people, they are not ready. I mean, if we went to war and had a draft, people would be running for their lives to the mountains, to the swamp, to the hills. I don't see this young generation really ready. There's a lot of people that are rising up, but it's like a 50-50 thing. Half of them are getting on the responsibility train, but half of them aren't. We don't have tradesmen. The trades are, all the older people are retiring, and we don't have enough construction workers, welders. We don't have people getting married. American families aren't having kids like they used to. The Latino families and the Arabic families are having loads of kids. Meanwhile, your basic American families are not. It's a really strange reality. I'm not gonna, I mean, that's my opinion on it. I may be wrong, but this is my thoughts on where we're at, where this next generation is. And it's gonna take a lot of work. And we need 20 groups like Amac, and we need 20 groups like PragerU, and 20 more Turning Point USAs, and 10 more Donald Trump Juniors, 100 more me's. Like, we need more people doing stuff, because it's a real struggle. It's a real battle. And we're fighting against a government with what seems like an endless amount of money and a media that does whatever they say. And somehow the government, the media, and the education system are all working together in perfect unison without any division. And it's really scary.
It sure is, Jonathan. It really, really is. You make a very good point when you say the gender confusion, I think, is what it really is. But when children are taught that there are multiple genders, 64 genders, however many genders people want to come up with, it is a lie, number one. I think it's a form of child abuse, truthfully. And if it's done, if it's clothed in love and acceptance, then it really is very manipulative. And I think that for people listening, boy, just talk to your kids, talk to your grandkids, talk to your friends. But let's make sure that we don't get quiet on this issue, because it's out there, it exists. And sadly, there are many kids who probably are not getting that love and feeling that accepted at home. And it goes back to families. This is why we applaud families that put their families first. That, to me, family first, always. God first, family. God and family, number 1 and 2. So, Jonathan, thank you so much for your time and your courage and your thoughtful leadership. Did you want to share any other resources or website references that I may have missed? We'll share it, put it up on the screen.
Sure. Yeah, I'll just say that PragerU has a lot of short clips, 5-minute videos on all sorts of topics: critical race theory, socialism, capitalism, you name it, they've got it. And they're really good at what they do in explaining things. If you follow groups like Turning Point USA, I'm an ambassador for Turning Point USA, and I'm also a Prager Force ambassador through PragerU. So I'm, putting them out there. Turning Point puts out a lot of great content, a lot of great videos, and they have a lot of events that people can attend, young people can attend. Those are the two main groups that come to mind: Turning Point USA and PragerU, and they've got a lot.
They're great groups, and we support them. So thank you for mentioning their names. And certainly, Jonathan, we'll keep in touch. You're a friend of Amac's, and if there's anything that we can do, we're at the ready. So thank you so much for all that you're doing, both on the local and national level, because it's your kind of leadership that we need. People who are, say it like it is, Americans, true blue. You're one of them. Thanks again.
Appreciate you guys.
Very good. And I want to thank all of those listening. Thank you so much for tuning in today. And if you haven't downloaded the Amac News app, you can watch, you can listen to this show and track breaking news right there on your smartphone. Please make sure to hit that subscribe button, like, follow, and share wherever you are on social media. Until next time, I'm Rebecca Weber. This is your podcast, Better for America. Thank you for being here. God bless you. Have a great day, everyone.
You're listening to the Better for America podcast, presented by Amac, the Association of Mature American Citizens. To learn more about Amac and all it has to offer, visit us at www.amac.us.